Right. Welcome to the temple, the Seven Arrows of Sekhmet. I have a feeling that this might go on beyond just this temple because this is just going to literally be skimming off the top. And you know what? Sekhmet doesn't have a skimming off the top at all. You know what I mean? It's like there's always a deep dive to this. But I actually think it's actually quite uh, on point. That I mean, I know we've just come out of Sekhmet season. Well, we're coming out of Sekhmet season right now, being August, and I know that, of course, it's very apt that we're doing the seven arrows. But I just think in life, look at that, like the chosen one. Oh, sorry, the sun's come right out and it's belting through the window. But anyway, I might have to do something with that in a minute. But it's like the whole thing with the seven arrows is very much integration. Is if like what we're going to go through today is going to kind of really give us tools, I think, of this current timeline that we're in right now. So that opens up very beautifully me to actually go into a bit of an energy update because I haven't really been on YouTube. I'm getting back into it now. So obviously the videos are going to come thick and fast. But I think right now, let us just all go into a little bit of a kind of like grounding, coming together meditation. And just the only thing that not to do is to uncross your legs, uncross your arms, just make sure everything's nice and straight. And then we're just going to close our eyes and we're just going to come into the space and we're going to have a little bit of coming in. Okay. So now taking a nice big deep breath in. Inhale and exhale. Let it all out. And breath at the moment is just so, any breath work we can do. Inhale is just so healing right now. Exhale. And then one more for your lion's heart. Inhale and exhale. And as you allow your energy just to settle into your body and your being, some of you are at the end of your day, some of you are just starting. Either way, it's always good to put your roots into the earth. So breathing into your heart and just becoming aware of that heartbeat within you. A slow, rhythmic, infinite beat. One that never lets you down, never literally skips a beat. It's just constant. And that is like you in your energy, in your presence here on Gaia. Constant, reliable, infinite. And taking a nice breath into the heart now. And as you inhale, you exhale all the way down through your body. So I want you to breathe all the way down out of your feet into the earth. And as you feel yourself sinking into the earth, you then connect with the heart of Gaia and you draw the energy all the way back up through your roots and your feet, your legs, all the way up into the heart, holding it. And as you exhale again, you just send this energy of love down to Gaia. And as we do with so many things, a beautiful infinity symbol, we weave, we receive her love as she sends us a heart pop, as it were. And then we inhale and exhale and we send her our love. So there's just this back and forth of connecting with she that holds us in every single moment. For we are her children. We have Gaia within us. And as we inhale and we exhale, we honor that and we acknowledge that. And we send our roots deeply into the earth. And as you breathe in once more and you draw in the energy of Gaia, you really activate that like inner strength. And you start to slowly visualize and see that as you are breathing with Gaia, you are now starting to turn into the most magnificent oak tree. You look at your trunk and it grows and expands, for you have held space on this earth for a long time. So your trunk is strong and majestic. And your roots, they run deep and they are strong as your trunk. And then your branches, they reach out as far as they go high, the biggest canopy. But also they reach all the way up to the stars. You are magnificent to behold. And this, in truth, is the core of you. You are a magnificent oak tree, which represents sovereignty. It's a gateway and key to other portals. You are that. And yet you stand here in physical form, roots grounded, canopy and branches outstretched for all to see, hiding nothing. Branches connected to the cosmos. And you are abundant with acorns, to the point that your branches, they rest so heavy, and you have a wry smile on your face, for you are the king of the trees, or the queen, but you're known as the king. So feeling that rootedness in your being, feeling that connection to the tree beings as well, really honoring and being just extremely grateful that we get to bounce through the middle world and there are so many trees around us talking to us all the time. We're part of one big network, even with each other. Feeling the energy of the oak hold you, keep you safe, keep you grounded. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so I'm going to open with my prayer that I've always used in other groups that we've done, which is Sekhmet, the dispelling of fear. For as the bridges of who we are, I've spoken about this a lot, that not all will be experiencing what you are experiencing right now. Not all have been, I was going to say sentenced to death, but I mean that in the most spiritual sense, okay? Meaning that, like, you know, we have come here to die and die and die again. And you know what? It is getting a little bit old. I had a little bit of a tantrum with spirit the other day, and I was like, do you know what? A little bit tired of dying now. But it's kind of like what we're doing, but we're really, really, really at the base of this process, right? And we are the bridges. Now, to be the keeper of the Christos codes, right? To be the chosen, and I'm going to speak about this again, because the chosen is not a glorification label. Quite frankly, if I could go back to HR and hand that label back, I would be the first in the queue saying, you know what, you need to rewrite the contract, because yeah, I don't know where I signed, but yeah, nah. It's not easy. It's not easy. So the 144,000 is a frequency, not a number. And those are this chosen who have agreed to come here and die again and die again until it becomes routine. And I mean, we have to share with the group here. I have to say as well that, like, since I've been going through this process and really accepted myself as the bridge and as the chosen and kind of accepted the role, which has been quite hard. If I look back at how I was dying last year in comparison to how I am dying now, I seem to redeem myself a lot quicker. And the death doesn't get any less stingy. It takes your breath away as you get taken there, and you go into this childlike trauma of like, what's going on? What's going on? I don't know what's going on, but you do know what's going on. It's just part of the process. And then blow me down, what would have taken a very long time, you find yourself in redemption quite quickly. So basically, like that is kind of like how what we are paving the way for others to come. And remember, each and every one of you, and including myself, we are way showers. So we are going to do this before everybody else has to go through this. So this is why we're looking around going, well, why is that person coasting? And why are they not feeling that? Not everybody will be going through what you're going through. So each process that you go through, and every time you die, you are becoming, think of it like this, when you break a bone, okay, not that I've, touched wood, have ever broken a bone, okay, but when you break a bone, that bone becomes a lot stronger, right? And it's no different with your spirit. You know, once broken, we come back and we come back and we come back. And that's, I think, why the oak tree came in, because he's a massive, massive king. He's a real space holder, right? And we have the integrity, and we need to start acknowledging that in ourselves, going, wow, look how far I've come. And I'm not one to look back in the past, but I always look back to see how far I've come to this day. And this work is not easy, especially now. I basically said that, this year, come June onwards, you're going to start to see your seeds that you planted, they're going to start to show you exactly, you know, like it's going to start to come up. And I'm going to get into the energy now. In fact, I'll do the prayer in a second before we do the 7 arrows. Let's talk about the energy, because I'm seem to be going that way, you know? So basically where we are right now is I had a chat with Sekhmet today, and she came through real strong. And she said, I said, Why am I in this death? I've just been in Avalon, 9 days of incredible, incredible energy work, sat between the stones in of the Stonehenge, drumming and chanting. Even the people that weren't spiritual were taking videos of us because they could not believe the light that was being streamed down upon us. We were like the stones ourselves. And all of the muggles, let's call them, were like, whoa, did you see that light? And they were all going, look at my phone, look at my phone. And I was just bringing in Sekhmet like, whoa. And it was just incredible. It really, really was, you know. And that was like, you know, that it was absolutely next level. But then it was so magical and powerful. And then we kind of come out of that. That was the New Earth timeline. We all knew that the Lion's Gate was going to be very, very powerful for good reason, right? So there is an element of joy. There is something that you have seeded very, very consciously, even if you weren't with me in physicality, you were with me in the stones, man. You know what I mean? Because we moved together, right? So that's what we did. So it makes sense that we pendulum swing that way, and then we get propelled into this darkness. So this darkness, from what Sekhmet told me, more personally to do with me, but me is you. I said to her, I said, well, everything to me is unfamiliar. You know, God, too many things to put in here, but basically home life in Zimbabwe, can't go there. Cape Town, not happening. Not living in the UK permanently. Kids have left her. Everything is off the table. So you're going to find an absolute unfamiliarity with everything that was once familiar, right? So that's the ultimate of the death. So I was like, I'm going through a death. And she's like, no, 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 no. You're not going through a death, actually. She said, you are challenged by change, and change is the challenge. So I was like, well, what do you mean? She said, actually, everything is working in your favor. Everything you asked for is actually being granted. But because change takes a lot as from my human aspect to kind of like take on board, it's going to bring up fear, isn't it? So now actually what's been gifted to me is like, you know, look at this. This is the transition. And I'm going freaking out. Just give me a place I can call home. Take me back, take me back. Now, we know that full moon in Aquarius that happened when we were over Lion's Gate time. And I shared my last video. I cut my hand. It was actually life force blood that came out, okay, and I gave it as an offering to the well in Avalon. Now that was basically Keridwen and Hecate said there is no more going back, because at the time when I cut my hand, I was making medicine. I had blue lotus, cacao, I had sacred mushrooms all around me, and these mothers came through and said, what you have done is you've unblocked the river now, which because I hit the vein, and you cannot go back. There is no more going back. And it was exciting to receive that, but then also a moment of like, oh, but what if I do want to go back? You know, no, it's done. Doors closed. So is it a death, or is it change that we have asked for? Everything's been taken off the table. It will come into fruition by the time we get to December this year. This time now, as we go into eclipse season, is going to bring an awful lot of more of that. But we have to ask ourselves, challenge for change, or challenge another death? In a way, it is a death, but I would like us to focus more on the fact that this is like how we hold down the change in the world. Because let me tell you, the world is going to follow suit after us, you know, what we go through, okay? So I'm going to go through my list here, okay? And I'm going to open with the prayer now. So I'd like you to close your eyes, because the 7 arrows of Sekhmet, and basically the shadow side of Sekhmet, is all about fear, but she brings us into courage. She brings us into our sovereignty. She reminds us that we are the lion frequency. We have lion's hearts. We come from Lyra, Andromeda. We've come here to this timeline, in this now time, at this current critical point of absolute change, yet chaos, destruction and chaos. But there is a calm in there as well. And we have been brought together. Sekhmet rises within us. Sekhmet rises all around us. So it is all about dispelling fear. So my beloved mother Sekhmet, essence of the flame, queen of all the lions, destroyer of suffering and pain, I call upon your strength. I dispel the fear I hold. Fire lights the embers. I walk with you, brave and bold. No longer am I imprisoned by the shadow in the dark. I stand beside you, mother, on Ra's sunbark. I take my place and I destroy my fear. I claim my sovereignty. My path is now clear. Beloved mother Sekhmet, goddess of the sun, I forge forward fearlessly. I close this cycle and it is done. So that is the prayer of loving Sekhmet. So the 7 Arrows of Sekhmet, okay? As we all know, Marie loves a good ascension ladder, right? And that is what our work is all about. That's why if you are a keeper of the Christos codes, you're going to be deeply connected to the tree of life. You're going to be deeply connected to the 7 gates of Osiris, seven arrows of Sekhmet, the 7 scorpions of Isis, all of the things. They're going to make a lot of sense to you because it gives you a spiritual ladder to be able to walk upon. And that is what the chosen is. We came here as the 144,000. We are the bridge because we're always in the stars. Then we're in the underworld. Then we live. Then we're going to just know, make peace with that is how you're always going to roll. It's not going to be a means to an end that by 2028, you're not going to be doing that. You are a bridge. That is how you walk between worlds. When one has a staff, you have mastered the other world. That's why Thoth walks with the staff. If you have 2, well, winner, you're a big G, So basically, that is what we're here to do. And each and every one of us have come here to remember that we are that big G, not in an ego sense, just in a claiming aspect. Space, right? Because this is what we're here to do. Now, you're always going to be traveling between worlds, whether it's in a conversation, whether it's going to be, actually deeply in your spiritual work, whether you are walking through a forest and something needs to be balanced in the ley lines, you're always going to be up there. So really understand and know that we have been in the stars too scared to come down in the earth, completely fighting the shadow. Then we were like, okay, right, we'll come into the Middle Earth. But the difference now, how's that going to look? You're just going to travel, man. You're going to be up in the stars at nighttime. You're going to come into the middle world and you're going to create and you're going to enjoy life. And then you're going to say, do you know what? I'm a human. I'm a little bit tired. Let me go into the underworld to rest. So I'm going to book out. Like I have gone through it, not being able to do videos since getting back from Avalon because I'm always doing videos and I love to share. But it's like, no, it's your time. It's your time. Do you think I could accept that and give that to myself? So I was stuck in a world. I was actually stuck in my shadow, my underworld, because I wouldn't accept the gift of rest, right? So the underworld, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're here to master. So the stars are going to stars are easy. We're all up there. We don't mind being up there. It's easy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But coming into the underworld and having a great relationship with that, and also using your law of discernment, knowing when to book out. Because if you're too much in the underworld, then you're going to be a bit lazy. And there's no woman walking around with an 18-year-old in their belly. You have to be reborn. So you can't slow that down either. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to really make sure that you roll with the cycles, right? So now the 7 Arrows of Sekhmet are just like the principles, I suppose. Now, in the old days of Sekhmet, now, which is where I actually don't teach from, I know there's a lot of powerful priestesses out there. They have got infinite wisdom on the old teachings of Sekhmet, the goddess of war, the goddess of pestilence. I was talking to an amazing coven space holder called Sarita, who I met in Avalon, 2,000 women in her Hecate coven. And I just sat there in awe, listening to all of the wisdom that she had of the old way, right? But we are very star-seedy in our understanding of these gods and goddesses, especially Sekhmet. So we have our own filter coming through. So we hold a different vibration of that. Whereas, like, if you ask me about the old ways of the coven, I don't know. I don't know. I just know what I feel and what I do. And I intuitively go with what I work with and I channel and I get guidance that way. Right. So my take on these 7 arrows could be very, very different to a very old school priestess. Right. But like I say, I invite you to come in and connect anything that pops up. It's valid. So take your notes and you're going to need your pen for this. Right. So the 7 arrows of Sekhmet, known as her striking power. Right. Back in the old days, we were fear-mongered, like fear religion, right? If you're not a good person, you're going to get burned on the cross, right? Even back in those days, if you speak to Walid, those of you that are coming to Egypt can ask him for the story direct because he loves telling this story that when he was a little boy and he didn't eat his cookies and had his milk before sleep, his grandmother said, if you don't eat your cookies, Sekhmet's going to come and get you. You know what I mean? And he said he was terrified of her. That was a young Egyptian boy and he's 50 something. So he tells you he loves it. He's like, Sekhmet's going to kill you. And he's like, oh my God, that's really intense. That would be deemed as child abuse in these days, but like, whatever. But my point is back in the day, like it was very fear-mongering, isn't it? Be a good person, otherwise you're going to get it, right? So now we flash forward. These 7 arrows of Sekhmet, the same principles, the same things, right? But we're going to understand them in a different way. So here we are as a collective that are not fearful of the wrath of God, because we know that that's not true. So we now identify with these 7 arrows of Sekhmet and other things like that through the way of embodying the power rather than being fearful of being struck by one of her arrows. And that's what everybody used to protect themselves from, the 7 arrows. They used to protect themselves from being struck by Sekhmet. But we're different because we're like, give me the arrow right in the heart. Let's do this. Do you know what I mean? Because we know it's an activation, not something to fear. So I believe that if we start working with this here, each and every one of us has encodements in our DNA that we're going to be able to unlock these codes that further down the line, like for years to come. So this is why I encourage you to really open up to your own intuition and what Sekhmet is telling you about her 7 arrows, because I'm going to open the doorway and the portal for you now on how it's come through for me, right? So her striking power, fear-mongering, was the old way, right? The wrath of spirit, the goddess of war, right? We're not really working in that way. We're going through the softer side of Sekhmet now. There is a softer side, right? No longer do we fear that power, and we now embody our Sekhmet aspects. We abide by our laws, by her laws. We are lion heart of one, right? So this doesn't divide, it brings together, right? Through the presence alone, you will affect others around you, right? So before we were all very individualistic. So basically through these 7 arrows and these principles, we're going to be wanting to teach less, verbalize less, and our presence is just going to expand, and people are just going to sit in your energy field and things are going to happen. That's how effortless it's going to be. You walk through a mall, people are going to just feel your energy, right? And that's what Sekhmet keeps telling me. Trust more of your presence and worry less about having to convince, right? Because like there's no need. Your energy is everything, right? Because your presence comes in the I am. Now, those of you that watch my Sekhmet video, Sekhmet and the Sphinx, the I am presence is the Great Sphinx, right? And the Great Sphinx was Sekhmet's, it was a lion's head, right? And it was there from the days of Atlantis, and it was there as a record keeper to remind us now of who we be. And it's very encoded in the Sekhmet energies, right? So it's the I am presence. We go right back up to the top, no lower versions, the I am presence, right? So I've spoken about the challenge. The challenge is change, right? Fearless, okay? What or how do you move forward, and how do you choose differently? The arrows are going to help you, and we're going to get into these in a minute. So I want you to write that in your journals, or make a note, or come back to this video afterwards and just say, right, in this moment, this absolute pocket that we're moving through. So we've moved through Lion's Gate. We've received all the energy of Sekhmet. It's been powerful. It's been intense. We're still in it, right? So now there is a question, right? You've really got to check yourself, right? So it's like, what or how do you move on from here? What does it look like? And the biggest thing that's going to help you understand this is like, what am I leaving behind? Okay, and these arrows are going to help you decipher that. So what are you leaving behind? I think that's probably going to be the biggest nutcracker of actually saying, do you know what version of you are you? Well, you're not leaving behind, you integrate it, right? But you know, what are you not doing anymore, right? How are you going to live? Okay, so for me, and I'm just going to chuck me in the mix, I went into Avalon with this very powerful energy of feeling unsupported. Unsupported is very married with boundaries. Okay, boundaries, if you have boundaries, you're supported. If you don't have boundaries, you're not supported. So the two come together, right? So for me, I'm leaving a life behind where I believe, because it's not true, I believe that I'm not supported. So I'm on high alert all the time. Right? So that is the person and the version I'm leaving behind. I'm leaving behind the fearful version of Marie that thinks she doesn't know. So that's what I'm doing, right? So I'm stepping into the empowered one that does know, right? So what are you choosing? Okay. Who are you choosing? Are you choosing someone else, or are you choosing yourself, right? The biggest one here as well, to check yourself from what I call negative narrative. Every single conversation you have, every single decision you make, ask yourself, is this a fear-based decision, or is this a true decision? If it's fear, step away. make the call another day. Because it could be like, for example, I'm not going to go there with that business venture because this could happen, right? Or it could be, that you well, again, it goes back to being supported. Yeah, right. So we're here to expand. I'm going through a big thing right now where I'm actually being called to expand. I have more sacred missions and expeditions coming out of me than I can shake a stick at. Everybody's coming at me, bro, and saying, right, come. But I'm too fearful to be seen. Believe it or not, here I am on YouTube and Zoom. I'm too fearful to be seen. And I'm like, well, that's enough. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. But now they're calling, like, I was even having a conversation with Shelley and I was like, could I share more? Do I have more channelings and things like that? And I'm looking at you as well, Joshy. I'm just saying, could there be more of us in the world, right? Probably. Could I share a teaching or something like that more than I do? Absolutely. But why don't I? I don't know, just go into procrastination and fear. So it's a fear-based decision that I don't, right? Otherwise, on other days, I'm like, when I'm in my flow, because I'm like, have this and have that. Everybody's got a nosebleed because there's so much content out there. That's on a day where I'm not feeling fearful. I'm like, woo, let's do it. You know what I mean? And then there's days where it's just like, right now, I've been in a lot of fear since I've got back because I'm purging a lot. I've gone through a huge death or rather a change. And I can't do anything because I'm just like, oh, to the spot. But I know it's another layer of fear coming up. It's been very ancestral for all of us. There's something coming up, which is basically the gateway to just going, how many of us, let's try this now. Let's do the Me Too group, hopefully. How many of us have kind of like felt that we were moving forward and then all of a sudden it's a recoil. It's a bit like running into the sea and going, yeah, ooh, it's cold. And you get out. You know what I mean? It's like a double back. And now you feel like you're further back than you were before. And you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Old habits showing you, right? Just, it means nothing else except to say, just look at this. This is what you do. This is what you do, you know? And I said to Sekhmet, nothing's happening. I need to expand. I need to move forward. And she just basically said, you are the problem. And I was like, me? Am I the drama? And I was like, apparently I was. And she was basically saying, you've got everything you asked for. We delivered, just like me phoning Uber Eats going, where's my burger? We delivered it 2 weeks ago. It's on your doorstep. How a luck. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, by that time, it's fraught, you know? But she's like, oh, we delivered to you ages ago. And she was like, if you're not willing to actually take these glasses on, put something else on, then you ain't going to see it. So I've been bending myself like a pretzel, like having a tantrum. And she's like, well, you're just fighting with yourself. The only person you're fighting with is yourself. So it's always going to be, this isn't a blame game. It's always going to be here, right? So there's something going on. There's a belief system that sits in the way of you seeing your life differently, right? It's a case of, can you see that one apple or can you see a million apples that are available to you? Right? So it's always going to be, remember, belief systems come into the principle of mentalism. It's always about the mind. In the 7 principles of the Hermetic principles, you cannot go in and learn the other principles unless you've mastered the principle of mentalism, which means everything is all mind. So if you want to go to the source of your issue, you look at what you believe. I believe I'm not supported. So how am I going to see all of these things in my life that's going to support me? Right? I haven't got the right glasses on because of the belief system, right? So let's now go into the 7 arrows. And I'm actually you're going to want to go back to this video, which it's recorded, so it'll be fine. But we're going to go probably deeper and deeper and deeper with these arrows, because once I start sharing them with you, you're gonna see how deep we can go. So basically there's 7 arrows. 7 is one of Sekhmet's numbers. I know that she has many, but for me, she communicates with the number 7. 7 is completion. 7 is purification. We know the 7 days of the week, 7 gates of Osiris. I mean, like there's so many synchronicities, right? That match up to this. So the first arrow is destroyer of an illusion. So basically destroyer of illusion. So we know that Sekhmet's going to come in and she's going to burn up everything, which basically isn't true. This is what's going on in the world. For those of you that live in the UK, my poor, poor country, like it is just basically being inundated by I don't even want to say it, but like a huge religion, which is basically happening in all over the world, but it's happening a lot in England. And Josh, have you actually seen that there's so many lions rising? Trafalgar Square has got loads of statue lions and they've turned them into animated rising, and I thought, how interesting, because I don't see that the world is at war. I see that Sekhmet is rising in places that have got chaos right now. Okay, that is why I think I'm here in the UK, right? And I think that that's why all of you are going to be feeling those kind of versions in different parts of the world. So destroyer of illusion. This is why we were told before, hold the line. This is probably one of the most intense times that we're being challenged with right now in being a starseed in human form. This is why we came. And I, for myself, did not know that it was going to be this challenging, but I'm holding the line. You're holding the line. We're doing it, right? We're made of tougher stuff, right? So now destroyer of the illusion can mean many things. Removing your mask. Okay, now we've got into this before to do with false prophets and things like that. You know, there are many things falling by the wayside. You know what I mean? Like, you know, big teachers like Billy Carson and all sorts of others, he wasn't the only one, have basically been called out as to how accurate their information is. And you know what? Like, you know, we all get things wrong, but when you're actually like putting yourself out there to be a guru and to be worshipped by others, the small people, do you know what I mean? That kind of like governance is going to fall by the wayside, which is why governments are going through what they're going through. I think that we are very, very close, especially in the UK. Zim's already been through it, where the people are actually taking back their own policing, if you like. So that, as we look in the world, this is why we came. Sekhmet said, you are going to come here to do big work, right? And it is just basically that whole presence thing. You will exhaust yourself, drain yourself if you go on any protests and things like that, because you're taking anger to go and meet anger, and that's not going to work. So how do we do this? Is we go, okay, no worries. We're going to activate the arrow, the destroyer of illusion, within ourselves. That's what we're going to do. And then we go and just be present, right? And we're working together as a collective. So this is going to make sure that it's incredibly powerful, right? So performing, hiding, lying. Now that is basically many things. We can go very small with this to people that we know, maybe that are mirroring or whatever. And we can also basically talk about like spiritual teachers. We can go even bigger, world leaders, just the world. Inauthenticity is dying, and it's basically having a big light put on it. And authenticity is shining. And those that are authentic don't need to try. They just are. But those that have been authentic and continue to be so have been overshadowed by the liars because they speak a good game. So that is falling away anyway. So we go back to what we were saying, just hold the line. So now, yeah, I've written here, are you flexing or are you hiding? That is also a mask, right? I've just shared with you that, believe it or not, here I am. I can talk for days on here. I love it. But I am somebody that is basically fear of being seen. We all have our own version of it. So let's not sit there and look at these teachers and go, oh, well, they're golden. I need to be like that, because it creates more separation. Every single person that's out there being seen still has a problem with being seen. It's just how it is, right? So now, like, you know, I need to remove my mask in a positive way to say, well, there's more of me to be shared with the world. You know what I mean? And there's more of you to be shared with the world. So when you say mask and, you know, you're hiding, straight away, we think of shady shit. But it's not always about that, is it? You could be hiding because you're just trying to be small. Do you know what I mean? So either way, masks are off, and the trueness of who you be now needs to be experienced in the world in your love flower arranging. Do that to your heart's consent, but do it to the max, right? If you love just basically, you know, creatively just working in any shape or form, that is the medicine, right? So this is the destroyer of illusion. That's basically fear has reigned. And what I said in the beginning about basically with Sekhmet being feared and everything like that, that her 7 arrows was something to be protected from, that keeps her in separation. No, this is to be embodied, right? So the destroyer of illusion is arrow number 1, which is going to help you go back to that anytime you need, when it's to do with yourself or whether you have a situation around you. And you're going to remind yourself to come into your presence. You're going to expand your energy field, and you're going to work with it from the inside out, right? Very hard to do when you're very in a situation which is triggering you big time. The need and want to fight for your life, don't need to do that anymore. Take a breath, invoke the destroyer of illusion, which is the first arrow, right? We've spoken about world illusion, exiting the matrix, free thinking. You're a conscious creator. that is how we just keep it flowing, man. We are free thinkers. Even following my teachings and everything like that, I'm just here to stimulate idea. You know, when somebody's talking, you're like, oh, that means, you know what I mean? That's my job here, because I want you to kind of like spiritually freestyle like I do, but like listen to your channel, bring your encodements out. And just one thing before I move on to the next arrow is I said it a while ago that I didn't think that there was going to be much discovery left, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. We found those in obviously in a cave. Little boy found it when he was walking his goats or whatever. I don't believe that that level of what's the word, wisdom and power is going to be found out there. I believe now these scrolls are in your DNA. It's in yours, 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 it's mine. And it's basically unlocked by sound frequency. And that is how we said, because we keep it safe. Nobody can burn us, because we've done that. It was boring. It was last season. That's witch season. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I came back from that. Didn't actually die. Just went on living. Do you know what I mean? So it's like nothing can get us, right? But the DNA, the scrolls are within you now, right? So it's your job and responsibility to take yourself to sacred sites, sacred places, sacred people, to ignite the memory, because it's in you, because it's protected while it's in you. So it's now time for you to unlock that. So if you ever feel a moment of doubt where you're like, well, I haven't really got much to bring to the table, or I've not got much going on, or you're feeling less than, then think about that. No, hang on a minute. I've got a crystal inside of me. I've got a tablet of light that needs to be brought out. And, you know, that's basically the mission, right? Listening to your own divine intelligence, artificial intelligence, don't get me started, internal intelligence, your own divine intelligence, right? Arrow number 2, cutting attachments. So in a way, you could actually look at these as ingredients, as to kind of like up level every single time. Visit these arrows like an oracle deck every day. Maybe sit there and go, right, Sekhmet, give me a number. She might say 4. Go back to these and go, what's number 4? And then have a look at it. Use it as an oracle deck to really embody these arrows, right? So the second one is cutting attachments, right? Negative narrative. That's my new phrase. Negative narrative. Really, really check yourself. And instead of like having long affirmations, the best thing that I do is I stop myself and I say, I am, I am, I am. And that takes you straight up, and say it with your eyes closed until you feel it, right? Because it's really, really important. I've just seen that there's 7 of you in this group. I love that. 7 Arrows of Sekhmet, 7 of you here. I'm just like, Sekhmet's like, well, yeah, get on with it. I just get so excited. Nobody leave, because then you're going to mess up the numbers and nobody can come in. Okay, so cutting attachments, right? Negative narrative, cut the cords with the I am presence, because the power in moving through things, I believe, yeah, we can say, oh, when I get home tonight, I'm going to do a big ass bloody meditation and I'm going to sit there and it's going to take a while to do, right? The magic and the medicine happens in the moment. You know, you're already spiraling. So how do you kind of go into it and just say, right, okay, I am, I am, I am. You know, I am, I am, I am. There's actually a melody that I brought through in the Great Pyramid when I was in Egypt last time. And it goes a little something like this, but you can use it. Felt very cheesy bringing in my songs. But anyway, it's very, very powerful. And it was actually brought to us as a group in the Great Pyramid. And I used it a lot in Avalon. And it just goes like, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. And you can take that into any, for me, that hits me right in my high heart throat. It's kind of feels about there. You might want to go higher or whatever. You're going to find a resonance with that prayer, and it's strong and it's powerful and it's going to bring you right in. So honor, if it's a lower chord, like go with that. All right. So that's going to bring you back in. So cutting attachments can be done as soon as you remind yourself who you are, right? Who you be. Okay. So codependency. Oh, this is a big one. Codependency. Food, people, places, conversations, and habits. Conversation habits, meaning talking about the same old stuff. I have been like a whiny little baby past few days. I know some of you know because you've spoken to me. I'm like, but it's like, even that is just like, okay, come on now, you can stop this if you want to. And I was just like, no, I'm having a tantrum, let me have it, you know. But even that, talking about, oh, I'm feeling so energy sick today, and I mean, I calling myself out on it because I say it a lot. But codependency, you know, is like in that moment when you go and grab for something that's not so great, take a moment either to use the I am presence, or actually take a moment, take a big conscious breath in, exhale, and ask yourself in a moment of presence, why am I grabbing that biscuit? And I'm telling you now, it will click over and you'll go, actually, I don't want it. Had you not done that, you would have just unconsciously, you know, because a lot of the time is like we're feeling tired. So, of course, reaching for the wrong foods and everything like that. Do you know what I mean? And this energy that we're in at the moment is a big challenge for all of us. Okay. I'd be really interested to hear your feedback on this, on well-being, right? No longer do I go to the gym to get my flat stomach and all the rest of it, because let's face it, honey, I'm 50 in February, like those days are gone, but I just want to feel better. Do you know what I mean? And it's like now, being an exercise specialist for 20 years, I trained many bodies, and it was just like the pursuit of perfection, right? Got to have the tight buns, got to have the good legs. Do you know what I mean? You know, got to make sure that I'm as fit as my husband, whoever would come and train with me. And now I'm finding myself doing like 9 minutes of like a Chinese exercise like that just to feel better. And you know what? It's enough. Okay, it's enough. So we're now basically really taking care of our well-being in these new bodies, because remember, this is also a transition as well. Some of us have put on a little bit of extra weight. I know I have, but it's like the conversation we were having was about the protection that we need when we go through certain pockets of energy. We need a little bit of a buffer, right? So if your body's changing, let it change. A 5D crystalline body is not a fat one, okay? But for now, as we transist, we need to have a few extra layers, is the way I look at it. Do you know what I mean? Attachment to drama, okay? Drama's a big thing. Now, instantly, we're cutting attachments with that, meaning drama can actually be so many things. It can be very obvious that it's other people's drama. It can be very obvious that it's basically world drama, right? But drama is just anything that is not love, period, you know? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's basically anything that's not love. So attachment to drama, you know, it's all about being in the present moment. And what I have been doing, which help you cut attachments, I know a lot of you know about this, but just bringing back the old faithful, staring into a candle flame, and just staring into that will remind you the feeling of presence in your body. And the thing is, the present moment is all that we have. So the more that we can remind ourselves of that, the more that cutting attachments is going to kick out the codependency. So present moment, there is no anxiety in present moment. There is no worry about like top layers and fat. There is no worry about going to the gym, whatever. It's just present moment. And I do believe that we're moving more and more into that. So invoking the arrow of cutting attachments or cutting cords, right? You know, that is basically, you know, let it happen. Okay, so we've got to cut cords, and these are the ways you're going to do it: through presence, through staring into flames, and also breath work. I can't say breath work enough right now. It is just, it's the way, right? It's the way. So now number 3, okay, igniting transformation. So, of course, we know that this is all about Sekhmet, right? The ignition of transformation. So now the ignition of purpose, I'm always going on about that. You know, this goes back to my questions that I was asking you about, you know, who are you? Okay, what have I come here to do? Because things are going to be changing for you, whether you like it or not. If you're not feeling it now, you will be changing your job. You will be changing very many things. But it's like, how cool are you with receiving your request? Do you know what I mean? So this is like invited chaos, if you like, because change is chaos, right? So igniting transformation, there's 2 ways that we can travel with this. We can be like a whiny baby like Marie's been for the last few days. And I'm saying it out loud because I'm owning it, right? And you're witnessing me. I was a whiny baby. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. This is like, I was so cross. I was so angry with spirit. But that was basically about the transformation. I just didn't like it that it was all happening at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But it's what I asked for, right? So ignition of transformation, can we rather not be more sovereign about it? And maybe just kind of like go, okay, well, this is, I'm invoking the arrow of igniting transformation, invoking the arrow of transformation. And I am claiming the power of that. I'm in the driving seat of that. I actioned it. I intended it. I remind yourself, I called it in, and I've now manifested it, and I'm now going to receive it. And let's not take it off the table that we don't know what it's like to work with chaos. We do. But in times when we go through big change and big things, we go into victim mode. I put my hands up. I was majorly in victim mode. And that was, and that was also my family history as well. I mean, sorry, mom, if you're watching, but we are like this. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's a whole lineage. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, victim mode doesn't necessarily, sometimes they don't know. They just don't think that there is anything else other than being the victim. We know now. So if you are feeling something, give yourself a lot of love and compassion, because as you go through the transformation, none of this can go with you. So we are the front line of our ancestral line. So whether you like it or not, you are carrying the weight of the ancestors, right? But we must carry it more effortlessly just by acknowledging that this is part of the transformation, right? And the quicker that we can move through it, the better, right? So this is all about ignition of purpose, because that's going to come when you leave your old space. Surrender to death. This goes back to being the chosen, right? Trial by fire. Letting go. Letting go. And I want to bring in the black moon as well. Sorry, I'm bringing in a lot of my energy to do with, well, my energy is Sekhmet's energy. It's all the same. So the black moon, just to remind myself then, straighten my lion fur, prick my ears up. I am Sekhmet. So now, so basically the black moon, right? I was sat there, and I think a lot of us have been, we're a guilt mentality, right? It doesn't take much for us to get guilty for us not saving the world in every moment. Didn't meditate today, wasn't a good student, wasn't this, that, and the other, right? But the black moon, for those that really know how to harness the power, is about stillness. It's all about stillness and letting the black come around you, consume you almost, engulf, right? And I was lying there. This is the funny thing. Here I was lying on this sofa, going, all I needed to do is get my yoga mat just over there. I had had to do 2 roly-polies, and I was on my yoga mat. Didn't even have to go to a gym. I stayed there, and I just ate biscuits, and I looked at my yoga mat, and I was just like, oh God, I'm not doing anything. And I berated myself the whole time while I was being still. But if we just took the negative narrative out, I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do, right? It was correct. Because the way we move through the black moon is by allowing the black to come in, right? It's stillness. That is the action. The inaction is the action, right? So it's like we have to get more okay with surrendering. But I want to ask you to ask yourselves, why do you not surrender? Why is it that you don't surrender? For me, it's guilt. I feel like because surrendering, let's face it, surrender can be many things, but I think the real deep dive in surrendering is literally letting go of your day, canceling the day if you need to, lying in a salt bath at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like things that you don't usually do, right? It's like, I'm going to go and sit and have an ice cream, or I should be doing that because I'm calorie counting. Do you know what I mean? It's like, all of these things, surrender comes in many ways. So what is it that comes up for you, which is underneath that stops you from surrendering? So like I say, answers in the comments, whatever. Like guilt is a big thing for me, because I carry my mission very, very, very seriously, even though I'm the biggest cosmic clown on the earth. Don't get it twisted that I don't go super deep, because I do. That's why I laugh so much, because if I didn't laugh, I probably would be dead by now. Do you know what I mean? Like physically dead, like unalived. But like, it's like, that is the 2 extremes. Absolute extreme in laughter, but then I go so deep in my process, right? So therefore, I find it very, very difficult to come into this middle world, right? And that's what we're going to do. That's the art. That's balancing up, isn't it? Find the balance in your process, in your energetic personality, and in your human personality. Find the balance and just give yourself a whole lot of love. The only way through this is actually through stillness and letting go. Yet it's been incredibly hard to take those layers back. So just bring that into your consciousness. So arrow number 3, igniting transformation. And just by the way, at the end, we're going through a massive journey at the end of this, because I'm going to take you through all 7 arrows so you can energetically embody them. All right. So igniting transformation. Okay. Then the next arrow, number 4, is protection and boundaries. Right. Where's my water? Hang on. Sorry, showing my armpit. Need my, okay. So now let me take a swig of gin and tonic. Hang on. Protection and boundaries. Bit of a controversial subject for me, actually, because protection, I believe, let's go back to what I said before. Fear-based decisions, fear-based choices, right? Basically, protection has always come from, oh my God, I'm going into a situation where I'm not safe. Let me put my Archangel Michael cloak on. Let me minimize, do whatever I've got to do. Let me be invisible, wherever it has to be to get through, right? But for me, protection is alignment, because deep down, my human aspects haven't quite caught up to it. And me as a being here, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm living, you know, to learn this or to remember it. But deep down in my consciousness, I know that protection is alignment, because I know that we are the I am presence. I know that I'm pure love. I know that the divine, when I'm fully in my divine feminine, I have the balance of divine masculine. What am I protecting myself from? God, love, because that's all that there is in this world and everywhere, right? So as our consciousness was quite low, there was horrible things that were happening in the world. So basically we had to protect ourselves. But we were, all of those lifetimes, we were working up to get the full wholeness of the understanding that we are the I am presence, right? So every single, I'm not saying to not put protection in, but when you call in protection is alignment. So you are, because let's face it, when you're in, you know, your Star Trek light, beam me up, Scotty. When you're in this, everything's just tickety-boo. And then we go when the light's here, and then you start to do that. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm depressed. Oh my God, everything's going wrong. Everything's chaotic. And you're like, why has God forsaken me? And you're like, well, he's like, I didn't. I was over here. You just decided to float over there. Do you know what I mean? Just float on back. You know what I mean? So I believe that when we are in alignment, balance, and we are in a kind of like cosmic alignment as well as the earth, there is nothing else that can touch you. Nothing can touch you, right? But it's a fine balance, because I won't take you to Egypt and say, go on, guys, go and run into the temples and whack your third eye on that wall there. Yeah, go for your life. Because guess what? 3, 2, 1, stomach bug, probably purging for the next 2 days, missed half the tour, right? Because in truth, there are places with some dark and nasties. So when we go into certain places, I'm going to say to you, put your protection up, because it's not through fear. You just don't want to get your shoes dirty, right? But it's still protection in the old sense, if you like. But as far as like day to day, you know, our like in times to come, we're not even going to be thinking about protection, because you're going to be so understanding on who you are. And you know that you've got Sekhmet frequency inside of you. You know you've got Thoth in there as well. You know you've got a bit of like, you know, Anubis and all the rest of it. Once you trust that, you're just going to be like, nothing can touch me. Nothing can touch me, because it can't, because you've become so embodied, right? So alignment for me is protection, and protection is alignment, right? Protection and boundaries. I've spoken about this quite a lot, which is why I said these arrows are going to go quite deep, because these subject matters have a very, very deep root system. So, you know, it's like basically, you know, the boundaries, like I spoke about, that was like the support. Again, it's all to do with belief systems. It's all to do with belief systems. If you believe that you are supported and you have boundaries, because I'm going to share quickly, I've had very, very interesting experiences, and I'm currently working on it at the moment, that I've been very, very triggered with people stepping over my boundaries when I've literally said, basically, okay, long story short, this is quite interesting, because somebody's stolen my cat. I've now had 4 Maine Coons. I now have 1 left, right? Because there's people on my road that keep stealing the cats, and I'm now away from my home. Somebody's taken the other cat, and I know this is Sekhmet working through this woman, right? And basically, you know, this is what happened. So I thought to myself, right, very fearful of confrontation, I put in my boundary. I basically said to her, Please do not feed the cat. Thank you for your support, but we don't need your support. Please stop trying to take my cat to the groomers because he's got a heart murmur. He can't go there. So I basically found my voice, which I've never, ever been able to do before. And I said it firmly. And I thought, okay, that's the lesson learned. Do you know what I mean? I've stepped into my power, found my voice, I spoke. And then she still took the cat. So it was like, well, hang on a minute. Like, I found my voice, I verbalized it to the person, and I said it in a very respectful way, and my heart and soul was behind it. Yet the boundary has still been overstepped. So what are my cats trying to show me? Because they're always giving me messages. And there's something unseen about this. And this boundary thing runs deep. And I believe that this boundary thing holds a lot of the answers to what each and every one of us are struggling in our life, right? I believe it goes all the way down, and boundaries, let's think about it. Boundaries could be like, how many lifetimes have you had your boundaries severely overstepped? How many times, forget about this life. Forget about, think about derailed missions. Somebody you trusted was working with you to get the mission complete. You turn around and they've been corrupted, right? And then you were manipulated. It's a boundary. So there's so many horror stories that I know so many of us have been through, which is why it's been so traumatic. That there's boundaries. Boundaries is a big issue, which would feed in and marry as to why we don't feel supported. So imagine if you did feel supported by spirit, no matter what, you knew that the I am presence. Do you know what I mean? It's like now you can just get on and do the work. You know what I mean? So this is a very, very important arrow, okay? Protection and boundaries. I've got written here, psychic attack versus entities, interference, protection is alignment. But then also as well, there's more of the human stuff that I just shared with you, neighbors taking the cat, whatever. So it goes a lot deeper than this lifetime is what I'm trying to say. So I would love if we could actually spend quite a bit of time and on that protection and boundaries arrow and just see where that leads us. Because I personally feel just through chatting to Sekhmet that even though there's 7 arrows, that number 4 arrow that she's given us, I do believe is a massive golden key. So I invite each and every one of you to, I would love you to concentrate on every single one of the arrows. But number 4 for me feels, and remember, we're co-creating here. Number 4 feels very, very relevant and holds a lot of depth and power. And I feel that it has a big unlocking capability for our movement forward. So like I say, interference, protection is alignment, psychic attack versus entities and things like that. It's all part of the obvious. But I do feel, and I'm not knowing the answer yet. I'm just putting it out as a group. Let's work on that because I'm doing some work on this boundary thing tomorrow because I'm going really deep with it. And I so far have gone back to some past lives that have given me part of the puzzle, but I'm trying to go back to the past life to bring it into this life so we can actually figure out what the golden nugget is when it comes to boundaries. I really do think it's really important, So number 5 is justice and balancing of the scales. So justice, obviously, Sekhmet is Ma'at, right? It's balancing of the scales. She's an upholder of Ma'at, right? So chaos and the calm. We know all about the chaos and the calm because we've done extensive classes and we've worked ever such a lot on our own chaos and the calm, the destroyer and the, and the activator and all of the opposing forces, right? So number 5, justice and balancing of the scales, right? So I'm going to just go through my list and kind of just mention how they could turn up in everyday life. So chaos and the calm, fighting versus flow. All will have to answer to the judgment. All will have to answer, right? Hand it over. So basically, all will have to answer. When you go through a situation like me and my cats, it's extremely heartbreaking. 2 cats, this has happened now. I know people could say, oh, I roll. They're my Maine Coons. I love them. They're my life. But they're the biggest messengers in the world. I feel that what people have done is an injustice. And I feel that people's just going to take something that's not somebody's baby, okay, it's really, really hurts the family that you've taken it from. And I want to go over there and I want to give them what for, but that's not the answer. So I sit here in a state of surrender and I hand it over to spirit. I hand it over to Ma'at. I hand it over to Sekhmet and justice will be served. And that's not a threat or anything like that. It's the best outcome that will be will be experienced, not just for myself, but for all, right? So really remembering that you can hand it over. Speak to Sekhmet and say, right, I ceremonially hand this over to you now, and I wish you to guide me for the stuff that I need to know about, okay, for the lessons that I need to receive. Hand it over to me, and I will graciously follow that. But as far as like the anger and the fire, that's when you hand it over and you just say, justice, the balance will be served, the justice will be served, So fighting versus flow. It happened a lot in Avalon, actually. And I was shown the grating of divine masculine that came up against the divine feminine. And I'll probably do a very big video on what actually happened in Avalon and share the magic with you on that. But what happened was it was like we were embodying the divine feminine, the divine masculine. It actually came through very strongly. And I knew that's what we were going to Avalon to do, to bring the balance in, like the wholeness, right? But then there was a certain pocket on day 12, actually, where there was this grating. And the divine masculine came through very manipulative in certain situations that played out. And I thought, that's an interesting shadow to come up. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of like observed it and all the rest of it. But it got to the point where it was a little bit of a push and pull. And there was no, like, that was basically my masculine meeting the shadow masculine. I was like, there's no through road here. So I came in with my feminine and I just brought flow to it. And in a way, I handed it over because I said to this energy, I said, let the chips fall where they may fall. I've said what I've said. I've been heard. Now there is flow. And as you step back, you release. So the only way through that, if I'd gone the other way and gone, listen, buddy, take my earrings, I'm going in, they would have like, what are we going to do here? We're just going to end up in a higher level of like fisticuffs, right? But in this moment of this manipulation of divine masculine, I was like, water's needed here. So I brought the feminine in and it helped me disengage and let go of the outcome so I could just carry on in my balance. So that was a very, very powerful lesson that I was shown. So that arrow there, justice and balancing of the scales, then that's yeah, a lot of it is going to help you. Forgiveness would fall under that as well. Forgiveness of self, maybe, things that you're going through, many, many different things, right? So now, nearly getting to the end of the arrows here, number 6 is power and empowerment. So critical point of power, where you hold shadow, the critical point of shadow is where you hold shadow. In that shadow is the key. We've spoken about this a lot, that we know the very place you don't want to go to, the very door that you don't want to walk through, guess what? It's the only one that's available and you're like, shit, okay. Eventually, how many times have you faced it and you've gone there and you've gone, oh my God, I can't believe that I was resisting this. And this is something that I was going to bring up on an energy update as well, as how tricky the energy is right now, okay? Because your ego mind is so clever in that it wants to keep you safe. So it's airtight. And I'm really impressed with my ego mind because I was like, wow, the story that my mind was telling me about a certain situation, I was like, that is not safe. That is 150% not something I'm ever going to entertain. And even when my husband would speak to me about it, I had like almost like a defensive attitude. No, I'm not doing it, And I was like, why am I so defensive? So anyway, when I allow, and this is not just one situation, there's many situations that have played out. Once I allowed myself to walk in there and I calmed down a bit, that just the surrender and allowing myself to go and endure that day that I didn't want to do anyway, there, just surrendering and just going with the flow. There's the flow again. I was brought so beautifully to the nuggets in between it all. So even though, and this is why I say it's tricky, because it could be that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it probably is a bloody duck. But it might not be, is what I'm saying, So what I'm saying is, instead of like walking around so scared and like tentative, why don't we bring a bit of energy? My favorite word at the moment is curiosity. Curiosity versus seeking or searching. So when you have something where you're like, woo, I'm not too sure about this, I bring in the energy of curiosity. And I was actually reading a book about a very high up CEO of some in the business world, basically very corporate. And he basically spoke about how curiosity is what he teaches. And he teaches entrepreneurs and business owners and things like that to actually really exercise that energy. Because curiosity now changes something. Going into uncharted waters can be, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. This is really traumatic, versus, oh, curiosity, what's under this rock? And it goes back to all of these arrows that if you're really trusting in yourself and you know that you're safe, you're going to be willing to allow the energy of curiosity to play out by lifting up that stone and that rock. Or if you're not willing to go with curiosity, you're going to be forced out of trauma because you're like, oh, I need to look under this rock. And there could be a big spider under there that's going to scare the bejesus out of you. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? But you understand how perspective, like this whole class today is very much about the mental side of things, because it is your belief systems that dictates your pathway forward. So if we can actually maybe give a few keywords that you can use, like the I am presence will break things up, curiosity instead of fear, right? Changing the perspective, changing the narrative with what you speak about the unknown, right? Because we're now at a point, and this is why this class actually has, I didn't realize how important it was to do it until I'm actually in this moment now. We are in a point where there is going to be so much change happening for everyone. And we're at that critical mass of everything you've been waiting for lifetimes is happening. And it's happening fast. And we're at that point now where curiosity, you have to expand. You have to expand. You can't not, right? You can stay where you are, but Sekhmet has already told me it's going to be purgatory, because you are all keepers of the Sekhmet frequencies, as am I. And we came into this life to complete her vision, mission, her legacy. So when others come, like my daughter, she's so Sekhmet, I'm passing the torch to her. So our lifetime, our age group, well, I say age group, there's a lot of young people in these groups as well, but our incarnation, let's say, this timing is so important, more so than the ones that came before us, more so than the ones that are going to come after us. And there is a massive acknowledgement that needs to be made for that, which will basically explain why it's so intense, but also explain to you how bloody magnificent you are and how much power you have and how much Sekhmet did choose you. She chose you to come at this time, and you said yes. So in those moments of doubt, which you're going to get, doubt and fear is going to rise. It's a human thing. We're never not going to feel like that because we are human. So the trick is to actually let it come in, let it go out, because we have a human body, but we are starseed entities, right? So basically, you're always going to be human. So it's the mastery is mastering the human emotions. That's what we've come to do. So accepting that you're going to have days where you're like, I am so fearful and doubt, but then you open up your energy field, use the 7 arrows, whatever you've got to do, allow the energy to move through you, and then you realign and you come back to who you be, right? You are not meant to be here in a Disney movie. It was never going to be like that. You were here to be a master of living on Gaia. That's, you've done it before and you're here to do it again. That's why Toth called you in. That's why Sekhmet called you in. And I'm just going to chuck in a story. But it's not a story. It's the Gospel of Marie. And I speak about it every time. And I need to repeat and repeat and repeat. She's saying, repeat, 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 repeat. So I believe that we came through. Toth called the OGs out of retirement. Atlantis went boom. And we were all chilling on our star planets. And then he was like, listen, I've been given the download by the dark side. We're in trouble. In fact, the dark side defiled a woman in front of Toth's eyes, ancient scripture, within the stones of Stonehenge, which is why I've never, ever liked that place. This time, going to Avalon with my sisterhood, walking in and drumming like we did and singing like we did, I claimed that back this time, because all of a sudden those stones became so divine feminine. Prior to that, it felt ugly and bloody and that's just my energy, right? So we went in there and we basically changed an awful lot that went down, okay? With the old energy, because they say that the stones stood when Atlantis, they go all the way back to Atlantis. You can do all sorts of research, but they're very, very old, right? And, Toth called us out of retirement and he said, you're going to have to be in this for the long haul. We need you to be reincarnating until 2025 and beyond, because you're going to have to commit on that level to be able to bring the consciousness through so we can recreate Atlantis, which is now, right? But we were like, yeah, we're in. But that's going to take a lot of facing fear. That's going to take a lot of trauma to go and revisit. And he's like, yeah, but I know that you can do it. And we're like, yeah, we can. But he said, I'm not going to send you in alone. You're going to be encoded with the Sekhmet frequencies because she's your mother and she's going to take you and she's going to walk you from one place to the other. How can you do this work for Thoth and be in service without someone like Sekhmet in your corner? So I do believe this is very, very divinely orchestrated for this very time, which is why I get so rah-rah about it, because it's like, and also as well, the Sekhmet pilgrimage coming up at this time. As you know, my tours didn't look like a Sekhmet pilgrimage. I took a year off from Egypt this year, and I went to Avalon, and I created something very powerful there in Avalon. And those encodements I'm now taking to Egypt, because the energy of that experience that we had over Lion's Gate wasn't meant to be done in Egypt. It was meant to be done in Avalon because it's divine feminine. So I'm now taking that consciousness and I'm now placing it into Sekhmet's hands, which she asked me to do, in Egypt, so we experience a softer side of Egypt, because it's very abrasive with a lot of shadow masculine. Not anymore, though. This is our mission. This is why Sekhmet chose you. So I'm bringing this in now because a lot of you, you know what I mean, like have been chosen to go to Egypt. She's called you for this reason. And I will go into a lot of depth since I've come out of Avalon with what I've found to be true, because I've shared nothing with that group yet because I've been in integration process, but it's very clear. I know exactly why I'm going to Egypt. I know exactly why you come into Egypt with me. I know why. And it's so much bigger than just a tour, right? But you will feel that in your resonance as I'm speaking or not, you know? So anyway, this is what I believe that we've come here to do, right? So basically power and empowerment, right? You all hold these arrows within you. In fact, you know more about it probably than I do. So I feel that these 7 arrows are deeply significant, you know? So I've written here, dark night of the soul, you'll receive this arrow. Think about it. The perceived deaths or the darkness we go into as we go through this massive change, the power and empowerment arrow is basically direct hit to the heart. Direct hit to the heart, because it's basically, it's the critical point of power where you hold that shadow. So I want you to connect with this arrow, and we're going to do this in meditation as well anyway. I want you to connect with this arrow whereby she's pulling it back. And as she fires this arrow, and it's to do with power and empowerment, and it's the critical point that it goes, it cuts through the shadow. But that arrowhead has gone through the layers of shadow, which is what you're perceiving, and you're thinking, this is terrible. It goes all the way through and it penetrates to the gold, to the Sekhmet heart within it. And that is the activating power. It's like, imagine when you know, like in the old times, when they used to get like animal bladders and it was full of water. And they used to have like arrow contests. I mean, in the medieval times, they used to do stuff like that. Even archery shows now, they'll do that. And they hit it, poof, and the water just explodes, poof. It's like that, but it's light, you know? So when you are in the depths of your stuff, okay, know that there is a Sekhmet nugget inside of there. Get your arrow, or tell a Sekhmet to get her arrow, because she's a really good shot. And she will basically pull it out and just penetrate straight to the heart of the matter, right? Number 7, drum roll. Okay. Death, rebirth, and resurrection. Okay. Which we do so often, and we are refining it more and more and more, right? And we're getting really good at it now. I tell you, I never used to get to the rebirth stage. I just used to, like, you know, lum around in my death stage. And now I've actually been reborn quite a few times, and I'm actually quite liking it. You know what I mean? So it's good luck for me, right? So now let it go so it can become something else. This is what I always say with death and rebirth. Okay. Now I believe that we can get really, really stuck. This is the whole reason why we're in the trouble that we're in the world, because nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to hold on to power. Nobody's prepared to basically be in their hearts, because then that means that we have to actually die and we have to face our stuff. Right? So everybody at all costs will try and maintain their current state of power, let's say, right? But what I've come to realize is when you're in a really, really dark time, what's the first thing you want to do? To stop it. What's the second thing you want to do? Is you want somebody else, if you can't stop it, to take it away, right? And the third thing you want to do, if that person, you just sit there and wait day in, day out because you think somebody's going to come and rescue you. They're not. So you just stay. Bless you, Sally. No, it's fine. I didn't hear you. I saw you sneeze. So it's like I was saying, bless you. So like, you know, what you want to do is like really step back. And when you're in the darkness, this is the ultimate of letting go and going into surrender. Because let's face it, it's very unpreferred. You don't like being in the darkness. It's uncomfortable and it's awful. If it was so easy, everybody would be doing it, but they're not. We do it though. You want it to turn into something else. You want this story to turn into something else. Now, I know it's just real basic stuff because it's a cat, but in my world, it's not just a cat. Let's go back to the neighbor. It's a great teaching point. So I could go there and I could basically have a keyboard war from where I am, from here in Cape Town, and be like, give me my cat back. I'm sending somebody around there, da 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 da. But I've done this a million times before because one cat's already been stolen and that's what happened. So you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, we've been here before. I've done everything I can to keep control of the situation from my side. And it's served me to no end. Second cat's now going. So Marie's missing a message here, right? What do I need to do? I actually need to let it go so this situation can turn into something else instead of me fighting for my cat. Do I have the courage to sit on my hands and hold my very, very sore heart? Because the one cat that she's taken is called Ra Harakti. Go figure. I know, Ra, the one supreme God. I know that Sekhmet and Ra are having a good laugh about this. Probably on my cat as well. All three of them are hanging out somewhere going, yeah, let's put her through this test. But that's the truth. That's his name. Ra Harakti is a very powerful male and he's mommy's boy. So it's like each animal's getting more and more heart sore as it gets closer to me. But I could go in there and do something about it. Or do I just let it go and allow the lesson to be shown so it can become something else? Maybe I'll come out the other side. Maybe I can just enjoy the rest of my time here in London instead of freaking out every day, which I've been doing. Maybe I can just enjoy my time with the kids. And then maybe when I get home to Cape Town, it'll turn into something else. He'll go, or maybe he'll come back. Either way, do you know what I mean? It'll turn into something else and I wouldn't have had my peace robbed. So I am choosing in this moment to make sure that I'm unhappy, because I won't let it go, right? So it's not that I'm giving up because I don't think this is right, but I need the situation to turn into something else. And that's the death, rebirth, and resurrection. So going now more into your personal evolution, let's say, when you're in, like, remember initiation can last a lifetime. An initiation can last 5 years. So you can have like a macro initiation and lots of micro ones underneath it. Yeah. Or you can just basically have lots of little ones. But either way, it's like they are all pockets of transformation, whichever way you look at it, right? So for us to really squeeze the juice out of it, we need to be able to be discerning, to be able to sit back and watch it and follow it, you know, and that allows us to go for the death, rebirth, and resurrection and come out stronger and better for it, you know, and be accepting of that, you know. And that's a lot more peaceful way of being, and you're much more in the flow. That's so divine feminine, is it not? That is the death, rebirth, resurrection. That is the divine feminine, right? So let it go so it can become something else. Dying to hold on, or are you dying to surrender? Right now, or before, I was dying to hold on. Now I'm dying to surrender, you know? So you cannot get stuck. Because if you get stuck and you're in control, that means you're keeping yourself in the shadow. So you're in the cauldron in a negative way. They're going to turn up those flames and put the lid on, and you're going to burn. Do you know what I mean? Or you can actually take the lid off, tell them no need for flames. I've just come for a little rest in my cauldron. Do you know what I mean? Bring me a cocktail. You know, there's two ways of going about it, isn't there? You know what I mean? So move around a bit here. So that's what I'm saying. We have a choice in every moment as to how we're going to go into the underworld. And the sooner we go in there, the more sooner we're going to be rebirthed into something else, right? And now it's starting to make logical sense, because if you'd spoken to me about this a couple of years ago, I would have been like, yeah, I get it on paper, but I've not got it in my body, and I've embodied it now. And I'm now starting to see, oh, look what happens when I do that. and I let go and I let God, right? Let go or be dragged. Let go or be dragged, right? Because either way, it doesn't matter that, like, when people turn around and say, oh, it's a missed opportunity. I personally don't believe in missed opportunities, because I believe that tree of life, low hanging fruits, when they are ripe and you don't pick them, they fall into the ground, they ferment, your roots sucks it up through nourishment, and then they grow out again, right? No such things as missed opportunities, right? So basically, there's no need to panic or go, oh my God, this time. Because if spirit wants you to have it, it'll bring it back again and again until you're ready. And you know what? When it comes round again, you might actually go, actually, no. Do you know something about twin flames? Most twin flames don't end up being with anybody, because by the time they've walked their line of actually searching for their one beloved, which is them, and then they get really happy with their beloved, which is them, they love their life, which is them, they all of a sudden then go, actually, I don't need to be with anybody else. That need isn't being there. It's out of choice. And a lot of twin flames, they're like, well, I've already found my union. So I'm actually kind of happy, just me and my dog, So don't get it twisted as to what it looks like. Union is union. And it's just like, if you're whole, you're whole, It's up to you who you choose to bring into that space, right? But we are choosing our peace now. This is the empowerment part of it. Before we were like in the stars, spat into the underworld, spat into the world. Whoa, do you know what I mean? And we're just in a washing machine. And we're just like, Jesus, But now the chosen, and now they've embodied enough. Listen, I don't know about you guys, but you can share with the group if you want. But I'm not scared of dying anymore. I really am not. I don't like it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't like hot food. Will I eat it? Probably, but it's just like, give me an upset stomach. But I'm not, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not scared of dying anymore. And I think that we can all say that in the past 2 years, whatever's been thrown at us, there's nothing worse than that. Do you know what I mean? I've literally come out the other side. And remember, the chosen are protected, very, very protected. It don't matter what goes on with you. You are not going to be taken out, because we came here with a specific special mission. People can't, not this isn't a flex, by the way, because like at all, but there's not many that can endure what you've endured. There's not many that have the tenacity and the blind faith to keep going. Because let's face it, I'll put my hand up. The amount of blessings that I've received, let me tell you, that doesn't balance up. It isn't because I've had loads of blessings that I know how this goes now. I've had more shit than I've had good things. But there's something inside me that says, you got to keep on going, right? It's like, even my husband's got used to me dying now. I'll be lying on the floor in my bra and pants, and I'll be like, I want to leave the planet. I don't want to be here anymore. And he's like, don't worry, babe. Put some clothes on. We'll go for a coffee. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, even he doesn't like, he's got used to it now. Before, when I said I'm leaving the planet, he's like, oh my God, do we need to get a counselor? What's going on? Are you okay? And it was real serious. But it's like now, even people around me are just like, oh, she's just going through another death. She'd be fine on Tuesday. You know what I mean? And that's the difference. And I know I'm joking about it, but it's actually the truth of it. And we need to laugh about it, because it's just like, that's how we roll. Because it's actually quite comical, the death of a starseed. It's just like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then you die, and then you wake up and all the energy lifts. And you're like, this is amazing. I love life. And then you spend the next day apologizing to spirit, which I've been doing, saying, I'm so sorry for losing my shit and swearing at you. And I'm so sorry for, like, you know what I mean? Please tell Toth, I don't think he's an idiot at all. I actually quite like him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I spend myself writing a letter for forgiveness for self, because I've gone through it. Do you know what I mean? But my point of sharing with it and having a good old laugh about it is because we have to laugh, because this path is intense. It's intense. You know what I mean? So death, rebirth, and resurrection, right? And we can go into Osiris and Isis with this and everything like that, bringing in the divine feminine and divine masculine, right? It's like when you feel that you're stuck on an edge and you feel like you just can't get out there, invoke the death, rebirth, resurrection arrow. You might want to completely rename these in the energy of what I'm sharing with you. And I encourage you to do so, because we're not changing the ancient teachings. We're just, we're still going with the template and everything like that, but make it yours, So death, rebirth, and resurrection. So that's the 7 arrows as a whole. So let's just just quickly scan over them. So think about this as a journey, right? Think about this as, okay, so we've all gone it. So so we all wake up. Well, I don't want to say that because I don't want to call it in. But anyway, imagine in another dimension that you wake up and you're in a really horrible, dark space, right? And you're just like, Okay, you're going to now pick up your list and you're going to say, right, I'm going to go through the 7 arrows of Sekhmet and I'm going to go through it as a, as a kind of like list of what to do to get me out of this. So we had the destroyer of illusion. So first of all, you're just making shit up. You know what I mean? It's not real. It's not happening. Destroyer of illusion. That's when you change your narrative to how you're speaking to yourself. That's when you check yourself and you basically say, I am, whatever. So destroyer of illusion. Then once you've done that, you're like, yeah, what do I need to cut cords with? Well, all that shitty food that you chucked in your pile the day before, thinking it's going to make you feel better, gave you indigestion, then you felt even worse for having it. Did that serve you right? Do you know what I mean? No, cut cords with trying to fill this hole and maybe take a moment and a space to fill it with light and call on something like, something else, right? So like that's the cutting of attachments. And like maybe there's shitty people around you. Maybe you're in a place that you're just like, let me go away for the weekend, whatever. So that's going to help you with your dark night of the soul, right? Then you're going to be in this beautiful place. You've taken yourself because you cut attachments and you've cut all of the shit out. And now you're basically going to go, right, arrow number 3, igniting transformation, right? So remind yourself, what is your purpose, right? And what have I got to surrender to here? Because I know for me to actually transform, I've got to let go of some shit. It's the same as walking through an airport and you've got all your suitcases and have you got any sharp objects in your pocket? Yeah, like machetes and shit. You're not going to be let through. Do you know what I mean? You've got to put some stuff down, okay? They're going to go, you can't take that. So what have you got to put down and what have you got to let go of? And that might take you several days. So be okay with being several days in being in that arrow number 3. And then once you've done that, protection and boundaries. So you're like, can I ask for alignment, please? Please bring me into alignment. And my sacred boundaries, show me where I'm leaking energy. Energies, show me who are the people that are not respecting my boundaries. Do a bit of a cleanup of your council, right? And internal and external, right? And then number 5, you'll say, right, okay, so now I've kind of got my boundaries in place, justice and balancing of the scales. What do I need to hand over? What am I carrying and trying to fix here? No, I'm going to hand this over. What am I prepared to hand over? Because I've done my bit there. Now I'm going to pass that over. That's going to be a good journal job, that one, right? And then you're going to invoke the arrow of power and empowerment. And you're going to ask to be shot in the chest to get through all of that dark night stuff. Ignite the nugget inside of it so I can see it, Sekhmet. I need to see it, right? Because in that darkness, I want to know what's in that. So in this moment, and this is what I always do, give me 24 hours, Sekhmet, and show me what is in the center of this big dark mass, because I know my golden nuggets in there. And the reason I say 24 hours is if you say asked to be shown, by day 3, you've forgotten that you asked and everything's coming at you and you're not aware. Give me 24 hours, dream state. People's conversations, give me a heads up, and you'll be so surprised by condensing it down on that timeline, how much message will come through, right? And how much direction, okay? And then 7, once that's kind of like done, then you're like, yeah, death, rebirth, and resurrection. Take some breaths in, go up to the stars, go into the underworld, and then come out in the middle world. Or from whatever it is that you've gone through or are going through, you might say, I get to pick a world here. I need to go into the underworld and I need to rest. Phone off, computer off, away from the world, done. Or it might be quite the opposite. Oh, I'm ready to live now. Go, if you've got some juicy joy coming online, go and do that, right? But just understand that the worlds will be available to you where you're at, okay? And that's always going to change, okay? So if you get plunged into the underworld and you're fighting it, maybe ask yourself, why am I fighting it? Maybe I need rest. Maybe that's what they're trying to tell me, right? Instead of feeling like a punished child in the underworld. And Josh, I love that you're having a good fat yawn because it's energy, bro. You're like me, I'm a yawner. I'm a yawner because I know I'm not boring. Okay, so I have gone through 7 arrows, which have made me really, really hot now. And we now, now have a number 8 in. Hey, we'll let a number 8 in. It's okay. We have now 8 people in the room. That's abundance now. So we had the 7 people in the room. And now whoever made it at the 8, thank you so much for joining us because you've just bought the golden coins and the abundance. And we love that because Sekhmet is also connected to 8 to do with the Sphinx. Because the way you connect with the Sphinx, those of you that are coming to Egypt, we will be doing it between the pause of the Sphinx, sunrise. We connect with the consciousness of that through the 8 symbol. Okay. And then obviously that is the infinity. So it's also an entry to the 8th dimension. And if you enter into the 8th dimension, do you know what that means? The 8th dimension is about acceptance of core power. That's all about Sekhmet. So we thank you for the number 8 that came in, right? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to now take you through a journey, right? Because like I said, it is a little bit of a fast track. There's a lot of information in here that I shared with you. I'm going to take you into a journey, which is going to kind of like, it's the chambers of Sekhmet. So each chamber is a chamber of the arrow, if you like, right? So we're pretty much going to do the same what we talked about, but I'm going to take you into it energetically now, right? Where you can actually just let your brain switch off, let your energy relax, and just receive the 7 arrows as it comes in. And I've no doubt that we'll be doing more work on this, but it's her striking power. So get ready to receive her striking power. So do what you got to do. Have a wee, whatever you got to do. Have a little bit of a leg stretch. Lie down, however you need to roll with it. Okay. So taking a nice big deep breath in, closing your eyes, inhale. Power of 3, power breath out, exhale. Another big deep breath, really draw up all that consciousness, all that energy, all that talk, all the way up, expanding the lungs. Big exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale. Just allow your energy field to just settle. You've done a lot of mental work, receiving the 7 arrows. And Sekhmet is all around. She's had us very much in a classroom situation. And there are many principles to many of the beings, especially Ma'at as well, that really enforce in a very healthy, positive way these sacred laws. And these sacred laws are another way that we can embody Sekhmet. These sacred laws, or these sacred 7 arrows, is another way that we can embody the goddess even more. And we live by her teachings. And just breathing in her energy now as you feel her really come close now. There is a heat that you may feel in your body and your being, a tingle on the skin. She walks around us very quietly because you will never hear a lion approach. I know this to be true because I live in Africa. I've had many near encounters. And you will never hear a lion. They are stealth. They move quietly. They observe. They watch. And they also work together as a pride. And they support one another. And there is no competition. There is just support. And it is a whole network of community. And Sekhmet says, this is her pride coming together now. And we are one big pride. Her pride spans over the whole world right now. But there are many different collectives that hold down her frequency in a certain way. And she has chosen each and every one of us to be the keeper and the holder of her energy, to be the voice and the presence of her teachings. For it has been a long time since the gods have walked on the earth. It's been a long time since the gods were in the temples. But we are a transference of such things. For in our DNA, we hold the gods, especially the goddess. And Sekhmet is within each and every one of us. And the beauteous thing is we just have to speak her name. And she is here. In fact, she never went anywhere. And as I speak now, she wraps her tail around your ankle. She walks past you, brushing her whiskers against your cheek. You can feel the breath of she and a slow, like low growl. And it's an endearing, loving growl. And as she walks around you, you start to feel the energy and the heat rise up within you. And that energy and heat is empowered with courage. It's empowered with prowess. Even the way you sit and you stand, you hold yourself differently. And she says you have completed through one of the most, if not the most powerful Lion's Gate. She delivered fire. She delivered star codes. And these were absolutely pulsating through the sacred sites. And it matters not, for each and every one of you would have been, will be deeply connected to the dragon lines and the ley lines. And there is no mistake as to where she has placed you in every single timeline where there is potent energy. So never doubt your presence of where you are. Everything has purpose, for she is Sekhmet and she is the keeper of purpose. And now she leads you, and you follow her. And you go through a dark doorway. And as you are following her, she suddenly disappears into the dark. But you know that blind faith, you continue to follow. You are a little bit nervous, apprehensive perhaps, but you trust Mother. And you trust yourself and your inner being, your ancient one. And this is a place you have been many times before. This is different to the earlier days where you did not remember yourself to be a Sekhmet, upholder of Ma'at. You can feel the confidence that you have when she leads you into dark places and you do not know where you're going. You know that you are going to be fine. So as you follow with this blind faith and this strength and tenacity of Sekhmet within you, you walk in through the doorway. She has disappeared, but you now stand in a courtyard. And within this courtyard, there are flame lanterns all around. And there are about 4 drummers positioned, and they are just quietly drumming. Boom, 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 boom. It's matching your lion's heartbeat. And as these drummers drum, they are shrouded in cloaks and their heads are bowed down, for they are anonymous to you, but they are your space holders. And each one they drum, continuous, shamanic beat, like the breath in your lungs. In, out, in, out, in, out. The flames, they flicker, the courtyard comes alive, and as you look around the walls, you see images of Sekhmet, you see Wadjet, you see Bastet, you even see Isis. All of the gods and the goddesses are dancing around in the flames and the flickers on the wall, and you feel such a powerful presence. This scene is building to be more ceremonial than you'd expected. And now, the doorways, of which there are 7, they are igniting. And doorway number 1, you are called into now. And without hesitation, you place your hand on the doorway. It is energetically connected to you. It recognizes your field. The door opens. And as you walk into this chamber now, it is very dark, but you can feel the energy of this place. Sekhmet speaks, but you do not see her. And she speaks aloud that you are now about to undergo an initiation process of my 7 arrows. All that is required is that you open your being, you open your lion's heart to receive my arrow. And as it is so dark, she now speaks to you. And she said, it is not your eyes that will see. It is your third eye bringing in Wadjet. And you feel the powerful presence of Wadjet, even a little bit of hissing around. She brings the vision, the third eye energy. And now all of a sudden you have a TV screen in the absolute pitch darkness. And you trust so much. And Sekhmet speaks. This is my arrow, the destroyer of illusion. Very apt that Wadjet is here, for this is how you see things in the world. She asks now that you pull forward, pull up on your third eye video screen. What is it that stands in your way right now? What is the biggest lie you are telling yourself or that you are faced with? Allow it to be shown to you now. And as you allow this challenge to come to the surface, I want you to feel it in your body, in your being. I want you to feel the energy of what it feels like to be with that negative shadow, illusion. And as you start to see it through your third eye, Suddenly there is a flicker of flame. And as you open your real eyes, you're faced with Sekhmet, who stands directly in front of you. She has an arrow faced right at your third eye, and it is flaming. Her sacred flame is on the arrow. Before you can even process it, she lets the arrow go, bah, straight into the third eye, destroys illusion. In fact, destroys every single negative belief system you have in this current timeline. And you feel the fire just burn away. What have you told yourself that's negative? It doesn't matter now. For your eye, your third eye has been activated. And you feel Wadget in all the darkness slither up your leg, around your body, and then Wadget all of a sudden places herself on the third eye, and you are golden. This third eye is just connected to the cosmos, connected to this space. You have destroyed the illusion, and you have received her first arrow. You bow your head, for you're now being called to leave this chamber, because it is not over yet. And you walk out and you close the door behind you. And as you do so, you feel a sense of completion. It is done. And now you walk into the next chamber. Once again, met with nothing but absolute darkness. And you feel this, you fear this nothing. And as you stand in this chamber now, you hear Sekhmet once more. She says, "You are now in my chamber, the arrow of cutting attachments. Where do you hold on to the old version of you? What old habits do you still cling to? Lack? Are you still thinking that you are in lack? Unsupported? Unworthy? Maybe your attachments are in negative ways to support your physical body. Food, bad habits. And as you start to feel this, it feels a lot more body. And she starts to swirl the fire around your feet. And as you feel this energy of the fire coming around your feet in a spiral action, it is actually winding out the energy. And as it does so, as it spirals, it cuts any cords, anything that may have attached to you, never mind you attaching to it, anything that's attached to you. Anti-clockwise now, the fire goes all the way to the top, and you are literally stood in a fire vortex. Allow it to keep spinning. There is nothing for you to do, only to release. Anything that you are negatively attached to is being dispersed now. And once again, you open your eyes, and there she stands, flaming arrow. And now it is to ignite the heart, activate your lion's heart in the name of cutting attachments. She pulls back her bow, she fires the arrow, it comes straight into your heart, and you activate in fullness this fire vortex in your being. This is cutting attachments. This is arrow number 2, sacred arrow of Sekhmet. And you feel everything just released off your body. Everything just feels lighter. You bow your head. You thank Sekhmet. You leave. And now you find yourself sitting outside of the 3rd chamber. So now we have cut attachments and you're feeling a lot lighter. And now you've destroyed the illusion. You are now wishing to ignite transformation. And already you can feel this bubbling away in the pit of your stomach a little bit. But you're here to complete a mission. You walk in the door, you close it behind you. So this igniting transformation is an arrow that really, really is to do with survival. Because when you fight transformation, you're fighting to survive. You think you don't want to die. But transformation is the alchemical gold. It's when you end on one thing and you become another. Like a chrysalis and a butterfly. So you can start to feel the heaviness of your root chakra. And it really, really is quite heavy and sludgy. And it feels like it's tying your shoelaces together. So this is the prevention of transformation. You're too much in your lower chakras. So now any blocks that your root chakra is basically causing you problems, tribal consciousness, not wanting to not pop your head up in case you're different. What if you get kicked out of the tribe? What if you won't survive? This is basic survival stuff. But transformation comes from the heart and above. But your legs need to work so you can move forward. So now, knowing this, Sekhmet, she comes and she places a paw at the base of your spine, right on your root chakra. You feel a heat coming into that root chakra now. Her flames of fire, of transformation, start to now really unlock the blocks, which is matching the redness of your root chakra. You can feel all sorts of energy, and it's going to be running all the way down through your thighs, through your knees, your ankles, and your feet. And you're going to start to feel, oh God, this is feeling a little bit more loose. I can move. Worry less about tribal consciousness. Worry less about fitting in. You were here to be unique. You were never, ever meant to fit in. You were never, ever meant to be part of the old world. You were here to shine. Shine your shit so bloody bright that it's blinding for others. And with that, she gives a surge of fire from the back of your root chakra. Now it comes out the front, and you can feel your whole pelvis is full of flames. She allows you to just carry on with that transformative burning, and she now pulls back her arrow, another arrow to be received, and she's now going to fire it straight into that root chakra. She pulls it back, it is flaming, she shoots it. All of a sudden, there is an explosion of all the blocks in your root chakra. All of the old energy of just needing to fit in goes. And then suddenly your whole light body just explodes, your light body being, it's allowed to be who they want to be. And then all of the fire energy now raises up through the chakra center, up through the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye. The fire is going all the way up the central power channel. And you feel like, oh, I can move now. You feel expanded. And you have just received her third arrow of transformation. It is time to leave now and close this door, of which you're really getting into this now. Closing the door. Right. Bring me number 4. This one's a little bit different. You walk into the chamber. Once again, it's very, very dark. Sekhmet's presence never left. And she growls. And she hisses a little bit. And there is no fire. You're just standing there. And it's just dark. And then you hear her footsteps walking around you. You don't know what she's doing. But then slowly but surely, the light starts to come through like it's illuminating the chamber. And you now open your real eyes and you see that she's walking around you in a circle, and she's creating a circle of fire around you, step by step by step. And she says, "This is your arrow. There is no need for me to penetrate with the sharp tip of an arrow with this one. The circle of fire is your arrow. And this circle of fire is the most protective thing that could be placed around you. Boundaries, alignment, anything that is deemed evil, dark, lower vibration cannot step over this line." And as she walks, she is whispering in light language. She's speaking something very powerful into this circle. But you can feel it in your being. It's like it's awakening something within you, which is matching your energy field with this circle of fire. So just allow her to complete what she's doing. And feel that circle of fire, those flames. Feel the protection energy that it brings. And she says you can actually raise the flames. You have the power to do that. And as she does that, she raises her paws. You do the same. And you can see that you can actually bring the fire flames up even higher when it's needed. And it may be for comfort. It may be to keep you more aligned. Or it may be that you are in a dark temple in Egypt and you need this protection. And then you can lower the flames and just have it there in your presence. But that, make no mistake, that fire circle is there all the time. And only you can cross over it. And only those you invite through a heart match of lion love can cross that circle. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And with that, you bow your head because this is such a gift. And you now step out of the chamber of the protection arrow chamber. You're now standing outside number 5, door number 5. And here you can feel the energy, and it feels calmer. It feels very Libra energy, because it is the doorway. It is the arrow of justice and balancing. And the door opens on its own, inviting you in. This is very different energy. Still a dark chamber, but you can hear Sekhmet as she speaks to you. This scale has been placed into your heart, and you see her placing the scales of Ma'at into your heart. And you can feel a calmness that comes into your heart because it brings the balance of your own divine masculine and feminine. It's a really powerful symbol, talisman that's been placed in your heart. Receive that now from her. And then she speaks the words. Compassion brings balance. Forgiveness brings balance. Surrender brings balance. But the true meaning of justice, every man and woman is entitled to love, abundance, friendship, joy, well-being. These are all things that every man and woman is entitled to. And by the scales of Ma'at that have been placed into your heart, you will be the balancing of such things. You will be the juror and the judge, and you will bring this energy and this safety to others. For they too will know their worth, and they too will know that they are entitled to such things. No man will be devoid of this. No woman will be devoid of this. And she stands back now. Oh, and here comes the arrow, flaming arrow. And without expectation, she lets it go. And it comes right into the heart of you. It penetrates the scales right in the middle. And what it does is it suddenly activates these scales in your heart as a golden scales. And they become more embodied in your light energy body. In your blueprint, it's like you can feel it. And you look at your skin and your hands and they're tingling with gold. The abundance of Ma'at. You are never without. And the balance is that's what brings it. So you've now received the arrow of justice and balancing from beloved Sekhmet. You bow your head. But you're feeling the energy now. Just 2 more arrows to go. Standing outside the next chamber. Chamber number 6. The arrow of power and empowerment. This is a very, very big one. A very big one. This is the one where you can be put off by or deterred by the shadow, not realizing that the golden nugget is inside of it. But now we know. There will never be a turning away from such things. For you know, wading through the dark forest, you will find the sacred well. And this is exactly what this is. And as you stand there, you are finding yourself, because this is arrow number 6, quite strong in your position and how you hold yourself. You are entitled in a very healthy way, not egotistical. You are standing there with inner authority, power, prowess, presence, because you've earned it. And now power and empowerment. She asks you now, which goes back to arrow number 1, because it is a lie if you do feel it disempowered. But she asks you now to bring in a situation somewhere in your life where you feel that you are disempowered. Allow that to come to the surface now, please. And now You feel something in your hand. And she places your hand around something. As you're visualizing, feeling disempowered, suddenly you are holding something. You open your eyes and you are holding the most magnificent staff. It's a golden staff with a huge ankh on the top of it. You now have Sekhmet stood in front of you, and she looks deeply into your eyes. Sometimes her eyes are green, sometimes her eyes are red. She's coming to me with green eyes right now. And she says to you, you are the master of all of the worlds. You know how to walk between worlds. So disempowered you are not. As long as you hold this staff, when you feel disempowered, you remind yourself of your inner authority. You remind yourself who you be. I ask you to bang that staff 3 times on the floor now, and you go bang, bang, bang. And suddenly it activates something within your whole being. There's like a wave, a rush of codes that go up and down, up and down, up and down, washing. Like you're downloading something, uploading, downloading, uploading, downloading. And this is all ancient codes of wisdom. These are the DNA codes that I was speaking about earlier on in the class. And she's showing me now, this is what's coming out. When you bang the golden staff, the ankh golden staff, it acknowledges that the universe now needs to download these codes, but it's already in you. And that is why you look like you're running computer programs all over your body. Empowered you are, disempowered you are not. So when you forget yourself, in menial lifetime situations, bang the stuff on the ground 3 times. Bring this energy forward. That is your power, your knowledge, and your wisdom. So you stand here now with this staff in your hand, feeling blessed, feeling equipped, right? Feeling equipped. And with that, she disappears. You do not leave your staff, by the way. You leave this place now. Now you've received in an arrow, but in this case, it's a staff. You've received the arrow of power and empowerment. And now you come to the final door. You've left that chamber. You are now at the final door. This door is like magnificent. It is so big. And you stand there. And this is the arrow of death, rebirth, and resurrection. You walk in, there is a being with a big cloak on, takes your staff from you just to hold it for you. He's not stealing it, just looking after it. You walk in, and there is a huge cauldron in the middle of the room. And it's like a massive room. This is very different to the other chambers. You're looking for Sekhmet. She's not there, but you can feel her. And as she whispers to you, you turn around. And there she is. She's holding an arrow to your chest. So now your back is up against this huge cauldron. And without you even speaking, she just shoots this arrow. Your feet fly backwards. You fall backwards into this cauldron. And little did you know that that was the underworld. And down you go, deeper and deeper and deeper into the dark. And as this arrow is in your chest, it is igniting. It is igniting everything within your being. It is igniting the soles of your feet. It's igniting your belly area, igniting your head. You're like, what is going on? And you are falling and falling and falling and falling into the underworld until you land on some very, very dried leaves. And it's very underworld and Scorpio energy down here, but you're comfortable. You're comfortable. And you realize that she sent you all the way to the underworld. But where you lie with this arrow in your chest, and your body is just tingling with gold energy, you're lying in the underworld. It's quite pleasant down here. And as you start to realize how pleasant it is, and as you start to realize what's happened, she's just plunged you from the middle world. And you're also connected to the stars. I mean, that's the easy part. But you lie here, and you have so much love for the underworld. You're not fighting to get out. You're actually, for the first time, really happy to be here. And as you start to feel these feelings in the underworld, this golden arrow starts to just disintegrate into light, and it starts to move into your body. You're integrating now the 7th arrow. And the reason this arrow is so precious and special to you is because it's death, rebirth, and resurrection. And you've come down now to the death part. But this is like rest and respite, rejuvenation. You're so happy to be here. And there is an absolute love for this underworld. And as what used to be so scary now transforms into that love, suddenly you are lifted and propelled. You are now being brought back up to where you just fell. And you find yourself being propelled all the way to the stars. And here you are in the stars, just in the highest version of you, looking down at your paws. You're a white lion, beautiful white ears, really loving life up here. And then all of a sudden propelled back in front of Sekhmet. Here you are standing in front of the cauldron, looking at her like you've just done a massive timeline jump, below, middle, top, and now you're looking at Sekhmet and she's smiling. She's smiling at you. She's like, where did you go, sweet one? Tell me the stories. And she knows you've made peace with the underworld. You've definitely made peace with the middle world. And you've made peace with the stars. They are within you now, sweet one. And she takes your hands in her paws and she looks deeply in your eyes and she says, thank you for receiving my 7 arrows. Thank you for receiving my love, my guidance, my truth. And thank you for agreeing to live in this world in a time when it's incredibly challenging, but also there's a lot of magic. And she squeezes your palms even tighter now and she pulls you close. And she says, never forget who you are. You're the keeper of me as I am you. And with that, suddenly you are transported back to the seat that you're sitting in, back to your now timeline. But I want you to take a moment and leave nothing behind. And bring all of that consciousness of the 7 arrows into this space. You now know that when you need guidance and a map and compass, you call on the 7 arrows. You call on Sekhmet, and you will be guided. Thank you, Sekhmet. Thank you for the arrows. Thank you for the consciousness that you've brought forward today. Taking a big deep breath in, inhale and exhale, and now slowly bring yourself back to this space. Back to this classroom. Wiggle your feet and you wiggle your toes as well. Quite a long meditation, so I know it's going to take some coming back into earth, as it were. Okay, so let me know if you guys are back and present, because so far I was like, has everybody gone to sleep? I mean, should I just sign off? I was like, are you okay out there? Josh, I just wanted to ask, so can you just go into your question there? When you are not standing your ground to your no, when are you, was that a while ago? That was an hour ago. Oh, that was on arrow number 4, yeah? Okay, so say that again. Do you mind unmuting yourself and just kind of like, Oh,
Can you
sorry.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and
Oh,
clear.
fabulous.
Fine.
Yeah, so when you spoke about number 4, I just had a quick, what did I say? I said it's stealing your point, other people stealing your power. You're not standing your ground when you say no.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I like this is the boundaries thing, isn't it? This is the boundary.
yeah, the
Yeah.
boundary one.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying. This is our homework as a group, right? Because that number 4, okay, is a very sort of like I'm currently working on it right now. Because like I have done all the things that were obviously expected, which is like, don't just walk away and be quiet, find your voice, say no. And I just basically put a boundary in and I was like, this is the last time I'm going to speak on it. And yet the boundary was still broken. So that's where I started to think there's something much deeper that we need to understand on this whole boundary situation. And I believe that it's got a root system. And I think that once we've cracked the nut on it, and we get to the depth of it, of what this boundary is, of base, because clearly it's not just about finding your voice, and basically speaking up. There's something more deep down. And my cats, when they're channeled, which I do channel my cats,
and they're beautiful.
yeah, they're big lions. They said it's the unseen. That's all they said. This is something that's in the unseen, and they're not willing to give me the answer at the moment. So this is why I say, like, you know, with the protection and everything like that, boundaries. If, like, put it this way, the reason I feel this is so important is that if you felt supported, like really supported by spirit, really supported by spirit, and like your higher self, then your whole life would feel like that. How differently would you show up? It's that one thing. It's that one thing. And I believe boundaries are somehow interwoven to that. So I would like everybody to just explore that one, because I do believe that that arrow number 4 has got some significant power.
And then the one thing that also is when you say no and when they sway you at your own answer.
Yeah. Well, you mean like they kind of like still get in there?
They're still getting in there. So what is your no then still no, or is there, or did you then decide that your answer is not well enough or good enough?
No. Yeah, I think that that's a them thing.
Yeah.
That's a them thing. Do you know what I mean?
Then, do you then allow yourself then to be swayed by them?
Well, the thing is, this is just gospel of Marie. If you do, then you're people pleased.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what? It's a fine line with finding the flow and just going, yeah, you know what? Okay. But the bottom line is does it suit you? Does it support you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it boils down to. You know what I mean? It's like these sacred no's. It's like, it's real simple. You know what I mean? I've got a friend in Cape Town. She's so funny, but it's my new answer. It's my new thing. She's like X Factor. That's a no from me. That's a no from me. And I say it as a joke all the time now, because I'm like, yep, that's a no for me, you know. And it's like, really, like, you know, if somebody, this is quite an interesting conversation as well, because all of us ladies, all of us priestesses that were in Avalon together recently, soon as we came off our group and we came into our lives, every single one of us was hit with this. One of my friends is in abundance, like massive abundance, like she's just amazing at what she does. Everybody started asking her for monetary support, and she's a giver. So she said, listen, no, because I don't, you know, can't really do it. Oh, won't you just do that then? And then the conversation went back and forth until the lady ended up not taking no for an answer. And she's like, well, will you go into Avalon and get me some oils then, please? And it was just like, no, it was no. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, so basically it's then about the person. It's about a battle of wills from their side. So, you know, and also as well, I'm a strong believer that I can read the room, as Mike would say, read the effing room. You know, it's like, you know, if you've got something going on and something, you can tell when somebody doesn't want to do something for you. And respectfully, we go, oh, I won't push them then. Why? Because I believe if somebody has respect for themselves, they'll have respect for you. If that person doesn't have respect for themselves, then they're not going to have respect for you. The lady that's stolen my cat, she doesn't have any boundaries for herself. So I can't expect her, actually, it's like arguing with a mad woman. She'll have no sense of boundary with me. So even if I go in there with my, I don't know, with my broom and go and beat my neighbor up or whatever, which is like very not spiritual, but sometimes I feel like doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like she's still going to think, huh? You know, so at the end of the day, people are in their own belief system in their world. So they believe that you should give what they want. But this is the thing, isn't it? You're just like, yeah, no, done, you know, period. And if they're not respecting your space, then one thing's going to happen. They're either giving you a message to basically grow from, or just don't have them as a friend. I'm sorry. But if I asked you to do something, you were like, I'd rather not, I'd be like, fine, no problem. Leave it there, right? That's how it should be. It's respect for one another. So if somebody then pushes beyond that, I just think that clean your counsel, man. Clean your counsel, you know? So, yeah. But this is going to be very interesting with our embodiment of these arrows and everything like that, you know? So So yeah, sorry, I'm just reading from Leela. I just got an injection of cortisone this morning. Literally, are you joking? An arrow in your knee, which I'm so Leela, I'm so sorry. Helped me release and let go of what was preventing me from walking through. Okay, which was it, left or right, Leela?
It was my right knee,
Ah,
and yeah, it was an amazing. I had a medical meeting this morning with like what I thought was going to be like, oh, we're going to have surgery on your knee and you'll walk for 6 months. Literally, I was preparing for that.
yeah.
And he's like, oh, actually, yeah, I think you just need a cortisol injection. I'm like, I feel like I've literally been granted new life. Like I
Oh,
was a dancer in like a priestess coven for ISIS for the last 6 months, and I had to stop dancing with this troupe because my knees just like gave out. But apparently, it's just arthritis. Like I might need surgery down the line, but like right now, it's just like
oh my goodness.
so.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
goodness. Yeah. And you know what? Like that arrow in the knee and everything like that, that's like rigidity and thinking, right? Because that's what the right knee is all about. So you're basically inflexible about kind of like how you think about
yeah,
doing things. I mean, let's face it, all of us are in our divine masculine or have been divine masculine in the shadow. But I mean, how mad is that they just stuck an arrow in it? Like, okay. You know, so no longer being fear of being shot by arrows. That's a good thing.
yeah. Welcome it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy. Thank you for bringing that medicine. And do you know what's so amazing is Sekhmet's so directly connected to medicine, right? Because like her son is basically he's the incarnation. Like he's obviously known as Nefertum, beautiful completion, but he's also apparently was Imhotep, who basically built the step pyramid, and he was also a doctor as well. So there's all of this like cross-pollination. But I love this.
Yeah,
Absolutely love this, and I'm so glad you can
yeah.
be
Well,
dancing.
yeah, and like, oh my God. So like, yeah, I probably should wait a little bit and see how it goes. But um, I so I'm over in California, and there's a museum here that has actually like the most. It's called like the Rosicrucian Egyptian Museum, and they have an entire hall dedicated to Sekhmet with a replication of the size of the black statue of her seated.
Yes.
And I have literally been. It's the only in the entire museum. It's the only one that has like offerings in front of it and a little bench, so you could
Oh,
actually be
that's
there with
nice.
her and like temple.
Yeah.
And literally for the last 2 weeks, I've been like going. It's about a 2-hour drive for me. I've been going and like giving offerings and saying prayers and
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
just
that's how she goes. Very, very, very powerful energy when you start giving offerings to her and everything like that. And I've done a few in my time, and like I say, when I started to do that in Egypt, it was just like, yeah, life just starts changing. So yeah, embodying her, because it's like, you have that fire within you. So I'm just, yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So thank you for sharing, because like I say, don't fear injections. Injections are sacred arrows. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Leela. Is there
thank you.
anybody else that wants to share or needs to say anything, or are we all journeyed out, because that was quite a long one. So yeah, is everybody good to go? Okay. I just didn't want to leave anybody in any kind of like so we're all good then. So just like closing our eyes and just saying like, Mother Sekhmet, Mother, wild and divine, thank you for bringing us together as a pride. Thank you for the strength. Thank you for the guidance. Thank you for always showing up in corners of our life where you least expected. Mother of the stars, Mother of the earth, Mother of the underworld, Mother of Egypt. I thank you for bringing us all together, for us to share our heart, our lion hearts together. And I know this is an intense time, and I know you're going to guide us through, for we are so close, and I feel it. And she's saying, victory is upon you, each and every one of you. Victory is upon you. And I'm seeing loads of like arrows being fired into the sky with loads of fire, and it's like in celebration. And it's just like, you're so close, if not already there. So thank you, Sekhmet, for always, always being there for us. Love and blessings, everyone. Love and blessings. And I will be more active now on YouTube after I've just been through a little bit of a integration, and I'll start sharing all the Avalon stuff, because Sekhmet was so strong in Avalon in the center of the stones, the most amazing drum journey that we did in the middle of Stonehenge. So yeah, lots of magic to share. And then, like I say, anybody's got any feedback or they need help with anything, just pop a message on the community, one of the community posts or whatever. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, man. Keep doing what we're doing. So much love to you. And Layla, no early dancing, okay? Take it easy. Because if it was me, I'd be doing like pirouettes in the lounge already. Lots of love to you all. Thank you for all showing up. Mwah. And I will see you on the next one. Okay, guys? Bye.